back to your childhood, when did you recognize that you're gay?
When I was in junior high, I think that's maybe like 7th grade.
Yeah.
Like secondary school, right?
Yeah, 6th or 7th grade. I think it was in like gym class. Or PE. Isn't that how it is with all the gay guys when they're like starting puberty? Then they're kind of like looking at girls, but then looking at guys, but like, and then all of a sudden you look at guys and something comes up, like literally something comes up. So I think it was in gym class. We had to like take showers, and the coach was like, all the guys showered because you guys stink. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like we're gonna shower. And I didn't think anything of it. But then when people started taking their clothes off, I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, there's no way I can get in the shower with this up. So I'm like, no. I think in junior high, I actually kind of put 2 and 2 together, you know, being attracted to guys and like what people call it, like being gay.
As I see from your appearance, you have got a great balance of like your masculinity and your femininity.
Oh, thank you.
Like, have you always had that?
No. Throughout my life, it's been a constant kind of like juggling, you know, my masculine and feminine. Growing up, I had to be very masculine. I didn't come out till I was 22.
Ooh.
Because I came from a very religious background, Christian background, where, you know, church, after school you get married, job, kids, and this and that. And for me, it was just like, no, there's something more out there in life. But I think the past few years of my life, Vietnam has kind of helped me balance myself in different aspects of my life. Spiritual, mental, physical, all of it.
I feel very similar to you. Like Vietnam is really it's like a place that's living in the now.
Oh yeah.
For me, everything's happening now here, and there's not really much of a 2-year future, 3-year future plan or something like that. It's just like what's happening now. I'm happy. I'm searching for myself. I'm, you know, going through all these changes within myself.
Yeah.
When you came out to your parents when you were 22, right?
Yeah.
What was the reaction from your parents?
So I don't know if you're familiar with this religion called Mormon.
Oh, your mom's a Mormon.
Yeah.
Very strict.
Yeah.
And your dad's also a Mormon, right?
So my dad's also a Mormon, yes.
So the whole family is Mormon.
The whole family's Mormon, yeah. We grew up Mormon. I actually told my mom and my dad separate. I was picking up my mom from the hospital because she had some surgery. So I went to pick her up from the hospital, and it was very interesting because she was watching like soap opera, you know, like Korean drama, something like that. You know what I mean? Something like During this time, I was just so mentally not there, you know? And I went to pick her up, and I was just so depressed and so, you know, a lot of struggle going on within me. And I sat on the hospital bed, and I was watching this drama unfolding. And it was very interesting because there was a son that came out to his father. And when that moment happened, my mom was packing her stuff, and she looked up at the TV and she goes, huh. And for me, I took that as a sign to be like, today is the day. This is when you're gonna tell her. So we're driving in the car after I pick her up from the hospital. We're driving home, and I exit, and I go to this temple where we normally go to pray. And I pulled over and I put the car in park. She's like, oh, she's like, why are we here? And I was like, I have to tell you something. And she's like, okay. She's like, is everything okay? And I was like, no. So I just started crying. And then she's like, what's going on? And I'm like, what if I was to tell you that I was gay? I was to tell you that I was gay. First thing out of her mouth was, what are people going to think? And just a week before, I almost tried to commit because I was so depressed. I was so angry with myself because I couldn't understand the emotions that were going on inside of me. You know what I mean? And there was no one to talk to. There was no one to confide in. There was no one to say, I'm gay. It was hard, you know, and being 22 and still kind of trying to figure yourself out, and people wanting you to get married and who you're dating, and you know, it was a lot. So for her, I didn't expect that from her, but I was okay with it.
What was happening at that time of your life? How did it get to that point of becoming?
I think it was the pressure of the religion, pressure of the family, and it was a close cousin of mine that kind of was like, shook it out of me, like, hey, wake up. I don't care. You're still you. You know what I mean? Everything about you, nothing's changed. whatever you do behind closed doors is what you do. And he kind of gave me a little bit more confidence to be like, I think this is what you need to do to kind of like free yourself from all this like pressure and baggage and kind of like bullshit that was like being put on my shoulders, that I put on my shoulders.
Yeah, mentally you put that on yourself.
Yeah. And slowly was just like, okay, I can do this. You know, this is what I want for my life. I want to be free from this bondage, this bondage that I'm creating for myself. So I was like, okay, slowly we can. And then the next thing she said was, I don't know what kind of life you're going to be living. Something to this effect. I don't know what kind of life you're going to be living. Something to this effect. I'm just worried that you will live a difficult life. So I knew that there was love behind that phrase. And for her, she's just like, you know, it's a maybe a life full of struggle, a life full of heartbreak, you know? And I didn't know, you know? I just knew I had these feelings inside me that I need to express to her. So after that, she didn't kind of talk to me for about a month. We kind of like kept our distance because I kind of gave her space to kind of digest it. You know, I was like her golden child, her favorite child. I know my brother and sisters are going to see this, so they're going to be like, no, he's not. But exactly. So, but she wanted the best for me. Obviously, a mother wants the best for their kids.
Yeah.
So, you know, she doesn't know this type of lifestyle. Neither did I, what I was getting into.
And how about your dad?
So my dad is a very big military guy. Very masculine, very kind of like...
Intimidating.
This is very, very intimidating. Super tall, very handsome like me, not very. So I gathered my family at this restaurant because I'm like, how am I gonna tell my dad? Because I don't want my dad to beat me up, to give me like a whooping, you know what I mean? Kind of like, I'm gonna beat the gay out of you, something like this.
Yeah.
We're sitting at this Chinese restaurant and we're just like eating, and my sister looks at me, she's like, okay, you're gonna tell him? And I'm like, okay, and I'm like, Dad, I need to tell you something. He's like, yeah, what, son? And I'm like, oh, I need to tell you that I'm gay. Didn't even flinch. And he just kept eating. And he said, is this the time and place for you to tell me that? And I said, no, sir. And he's like, we will talk about this when we get home. And I was like, my dad's gonna kill me. My dad's literally gonna kill me. And everyone in my family is like, oh my gosh, this is bad. So we got home and he pulled me aside in the living room and he's just like, you didn't need to take me to the restaurant in front of all these people because you were scared of what I might do. You are my son and I love you.
Oh.
And he gave me a big hug and that was pretty much it.
So touching, right?
Yeah.
I got goosebumps from that. So cute. The one that you were so afraid of
So
was the
scared,
one
yeah.
that actually accepted you much easier.
Yeah, very much so. My dad was okay with it, but didn't talk about it. My dad's oldest sister is actually lesbian. So him growing up with that, but not talking about it, and also not putting it in their face, bringing guys around, and at least try to keep my private life private. Yeah.
An only child?
There's 3 of us, so I have an older brother, there's me, and a younger sister.
There wasn't really anything bad that happened.
My brother didn't talk to me for a while. I thought he was gonna beat me up. He's kind of like a bigger guy.
Brother didn't
So I
take
was
it
really
well.
scared. No, he didn't take it well. But his best friend came out. So I think that kind of like eased the punches towards me because his best friend that he like admired and looked up to was very masculine. He's just like, oh, I'm gay too. And my brother was like, oh my gosh, there's all these gay guys around me. No, I'm just playing. But it's very interesting because it opened up my family's heart and their mind to another lifestyle.
Your sister?
Oh, she was fine with it. I took her to all the gay clubs. We were dressed up, doing hair, makeup. She loves having a gay brother, yeah, for sure.
And you compared about the LGBT community in Vietnam and your country?
I think the culture is probably the same with those that are out. But there's a lot of closeted Vietnamese men, here. Yeah, like a lot.
Definitely.
Nowadays, people are coming out younger and younger and younger because obviously it's so internationally acceptable, you know, but back then, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, it was hard, so And I think coming out at 22, I was a little bit structured into myself. You know, I knew what I wanted, a little bit of what I wanted, and how I wanted my life to go and how to be. And I think my parents were the most important people to come out to.
So may I know your future plan in Vietnam?
Just work and just enjoy my life. Not really stress over the things that I was normally stressing over. And yeah, be happy. Yeah, and continually to be patient with myself. I think that's...
Be patient with the pace of your growth.
Yeah.
So you have any experience that you want to share to LGBT community to have a good life?
We're all on our own path. And we all have things that we want to do, need to do, lessons for us to learn. And as long as we are patient with ourselves, it's okay to mess up. Those are lessons. And as we continue to grow, we learn more. There's no rush in life. And this is something that I'm learning while I'm here. Just relax, be patient, and just live.